This video is sponsored by Carly. I bought this E36 after it had been completely abandoned, and it is now my mission to try and save it. And so far I've changed the full interior because the last one had mould in it. And in the last video I swapped all the bad panels off this car for good ones, but they're obviously the wrong colour, and now it's about 50 different shades of blue. And I've got a solution to sort that, but first I've got to pick a colour. So we're going to be wrapping it, so I jumped straight on my laptop to try and find the perfect colour to wrap this car, and it's not until you hunt for colours do you realise just how many there actually are. This is the hardest decision I've ever had to make. Until I found this. I think I've decided. So I wasted no time and got the wrap ordered. So now the wrap's ordered, it's time to prep the car because there's quite a bit that has to be done before you can wrap a car. But before I start stripping the car, I've noticed something. This car has an aerial and the parts car doesn't. And it definitely looks much better without one, so we're going to be doing it on this car. So first things first, Dad made a template of the hole. He honestly should be on a stage, sweeping it. Then he cut his template out and drew round it on a sheet of metal.
Health and safety.
He then cut the circle out and made sure there was no rough bits. And now it's a perfect size to fill the hole. It's time to weld it in.
He fills the hole up.
Dad's a professional hole plugger. But before you weld anything on a car, you should always disconnect your battery. Then Dad roughed the edges of the hole up just to make sure the weld would definitely stick to it. And now it's time to weld it in place. He then flattened all of the welds down and covered it in a layer of filler ready to be primered. And it's crucial that we make this as smooth as possible because if not, the wrap will show up everything. I then went over it with some primer, and I think it's safe to say that's a mission success. Much better. Well, I say much better. It'll look much better when it's wrapped. Now the aerial's smoothed, let's get the rest of the car stripped. Starting with the indicators, grills and headlights. Then the front bumper, if I actually remember to unplug everything. Then finally for the front end, just the washer jets and the front badge. Now it's onto the side of the car, starting with the side indicators and the side trims. And the wing mirrors. And just like that, the car's in a million pieces again. And I know I only looked at this a few videos ago, but sometimes you've got to go backwards before you can go forwards. Now it's time to strip the rear end, starting with the brake light and the rear lights. Then it's off with the rear bumper. And the badge and the number plate, and this number plate won't be going back on this car. And finally this boot trim and the number plate bulbs. Now most of the car's stripped, it's time for the bit that I've been dreading. And that's taking the door handles off and the window trims. Starting with the door handle surround, which you've got this little plate inside that you need to push in to unlock it. Which was that tight that it snapped a screwdriver. But Dad got them both off. Now it's onto the window trims, which I was absolutely dreading, and that's because all I hear are these bending like bananas, so I left this to Dad's capable hands, because if I'd have done this, honestly, they were not going to go back in. And now the whole car's stripped, it's time to clean it, and we're going to start with the roof to finally get rid of that mould. And by the way, this is James, who's going to be cleaning the car today, because as you guys should know by now, I don't clean cars. Look at all that mould coming off the roof. Ugh. Then James taught me this crazy life hack, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but once you take a number plate off and you're left with sticky pads, if you put tissue over it and spray it with tar and glue remover and leave it for 15 minutes, they just all fall off. I wish I'd have knew this sooner, because the amount of time I've wasted trying to pick these off with my nails, so cheers for that, James. Now it's time to clean the body of the car, and it is so important that every piece of dirt is taken off this car, because if not, it will show underneath the wrap. Which means James has to go into every single crevice to make sure that no dirt is on this car. And I think it's safe to say that James has done a banging job on this car. He is a top-notch guy, and if you need your car cleaning in the Suffolk area, make sure you hit him up, and he'll come and work some magic on your car. Right, let's get the car back in the unit, which was a lot of fun with no mirrors, I must say. So there's just one more thing we've got to do before we start wrapping it, and that's go over it with a clay bar. So if you've never used a clay bar, what it does is it gets rid of the contamination on your paint. Like, look how much dirt was actually on this car, even after cleaning it. And you know when you feel your paint and it feels rough, if you go over it with a clay bar, it should get rid of most of that, which will give us a perfect surface to wrap over. Now, I think you've all been pretty patient. Are you ready to see the colour? What do you reckon? So I really wanted to wrap it a Porsche colour, and I ended up going with Miami blue, so hopefully it looks good. So let's not waste any time, let's get it on the car. And this colour is very brave for me, so I really hope when it's done it looks good. And this is where I want to introduce Paige and Mitch, who are going to be wrapping this car. I say for me, but with me, because I'm going to be giving it a go in a little minute. And they're going to be starting on the bonnet of the E36, and I can't begin to tell you how satisfying watching people wrap is. So what Mitch is doing here, he's heating the whole wrap up to about 90 to 100 degrees, and what this does is it makes the wrap forget its memory. Yeah, that's right, a wrap has its own memory, and if you don't heat it up to 100 degrees, there's a chance it can shrink, which will pull the wrap off. So by doing this, it means that the wrap won't peel. Now it's time for the front wings, or fenders if you're American, but I think it's about time I gave it a go. And the easiest panels to learn on are flat panels, so I'm going to be giving a door a go. And this being one of the first time I've wrapped something, I can tell you it's definitely not as easy as it looks. But it's no secret that on this channel, I'm not afraid to give anything a go. And hopefully you guys will learn something from me trying it. Ganamize, I'm coming for you. So that's my first full body panel finished, and to be fair, it didn't go as bad as I thought, but I did let Paige finish the door handle because I know if I was to do that, I was going to have to wrap the whole door again. And after a quick food break, it's onto the rear quarters, and being the biggest part of the car, it's really starting to come together now they're done. So that's one side near enough finished, and it might look complete, but trust me, there's a lot more to do. Now it's time for the nose cone and the windscreen surround, which I thought I'd give it another go. I'm getting good at this wrapping malarkey. I definitely wouldn't say good, but anyway, let's get the boot done, which is done in 2 pieces using this knifeless tape. And if you've never seen knifeless tape be used before, it's actually pretty cool. You lay it over the bit that you want to split, and then they wrap the front of the boot and the top of the boot, and then you pull the knifeless tape and it gives you a clean cut across the whole thing, because wrapping this in one piece would be pretty hard, if not impossible. Then Paige went round and trimmed all of the loose bits and then wrapped the rear panel, and it's so cool to finally be putting my own touch on this car. Which leads me on to today's video sponsor, Carly. And I'm going to be using Carly today to code my brother's new M5. So Carly's an OBD scanner that you can use to customize your car, and you can use to get rid of any fault codes or anything like that. There's so much more it can do, but in today's video, we're going to be using it in my brother's M5 to get rid of something that's been winding him up for quite some time. And I'm pretty certain that it's the most annoying noise ever. And I'm going to be using Carly to change that. So the first thing you got to do is plug it into your OBD port and turn your ignition on. So once it's plugged in, the first thing you need to do is find your car, and Carly is compatible for so many different cars. Pretty much as long as you've got an OBD2 port, then it'll work with your car. And when it's connected to your car, it will give you these options. Diagnostics is what we'll need if we're trying to turn off an engine light or anything like that. This car hasn't got any lights on the dash, so we're not going to be needing that for today's video. And the one that I am going to need for today's video is customization. And once you're on the customization menu, it will show you loads of different options for features that you can unlock in your car using Carly. And to turn the bong off, first of all, we're going to click on iDrive, and then if you click on warning and menu sounds, it gives you the option to change it between BMW, Mini and Rolls-Royce. And we're going to change it to Rolls-Royce, and you'll see why in a moment. So now in theory, if I've coded it correctly, it should have no more bong. That's better, isn't it? Wow, that's pretty posh. And there is so much more you can do with Carly. You can make your car bleep when you lock it. You can have a Christmas start screen.
It's almost Christmas time though.
Or this M Sport one, which is pretty cool. So thank you so much to Carly for sponsoring today's video and for getting rid of Tom's bong. I think it's safe to say that he's pretty happy. And if you want to get one for your car or your mate's cars, then head over to the link in the description of this video and use my discount code, which will give you a nice percentage off your Carly scanner, and it will do your bit for the channel. Legends. Let's get back to the video. Right, back to the 36, and we've acquired a companion to get it finished, who was going to help with the side skirts, but decided they were a little bit too tired. Cheers, doggo. Now it's time for the rear bumper, and I think Paige might have got a little bit too excited. That's on camera. And the bumpers are supposed to be the hardest part to wrap on a car, but Paige and Mitch made it look easy. So now the rear bumper's done, it's time to do the mirrors, and we've got a bit of a problem. These are color coded to the car, and I want them to be black, and we haven't got time to paint them. So I've got a solution to sort that. This is my E36, and I told myself when I put this car in the corner of the unit that I was not going to take anything off it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Don't worry, I will be getting some new mirrors for this car, which should look better than these anyway, so don't worry about it. So the car's almost done, and I think it looks sick. We've just got the front bumper to go, so let's get it done. So let's get this bumper stripped, starting with the fog lights. And then this happened. At least this one come out easier than the other one, but it is a bit smashed, so I need to try and find another one. And once the split is off, it's time to wrap the bumper, which will be done in 2 pieces, first the bottom and then the top. So I found another fog light, but it's a little bit different to the other one that we broke, so I've got a solution. And that was to wrap them, which I think will look better than the glass fog lights anyway. Now the whole car's wrapped, let's get it put back together. I've got a bit of a problem. Mitch and Paige have just left and I've just found this body piece here, the number plate surround, which hasn't been wrapped because I put it under a pile of stuff. So I had to wrap it by myself. And all I had to do this was a blunt blade and one offcut of wrap, so I could not afford to make any mistakes. So it's wrapped, but it's by no means any good. But for the meantime, at least it's blue. But I'm not gonna let that get in the way of finishing this car, so at some point Paige and Mitch said they'll come and redo it. But until then, let's get this car back together. Starting with the brake light and the rear lights, then all the bumper trims and tow eye cover, and then the rear badge. And now it's time to decide what number plate to put on this car. Do I put N77 BMX? If you know, you know, this was what I started my channel as, right? N77 BMX, or Nafio, which I think might win it. And I wasted no time in getting it put on the car. It is so sick to see that plate on a car again. And I guess that just means I need to buy another car to put N77 BMX on. I don't know how happy the missus will be about that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That's all the side trims on and the indicators. Then the mirrors and window trims, which went back in without bending, thank God. Now the washer jets. And it's now time to make this look like a complete car, starting with the headlights and indicators, and the front bumper, which I've got to put back together before I can put it back on the car. That's the fog lights back in without breaking them this time, and the splitter back on. And now the bumper's back together, let's get it on the car. With all the bumper trims. Then the final touches, the grills and the front badge, which I definitely didn't nick off my coupe. Poor thing. Now it's time to put the door handle surrounds back on, which was actually really easy, so I don't know why Dad made so much fuss. Sorry Dad, please don't take me off the Christmas list. Then it's back on with both door cards with a little bit of YouTube magic. So the car's near enough finished, but there's one more thing I've got to do before I show it to you all. Now really, the only thing that now lets this car down are these wheels. They are horrendous, so let's get them changed. With these bad boys, these Azev wheels. Now these are one of my favourite sets of wheels ever, and I think they look so good on E36s. So let's not waste any time, it's time to get them on. I really need to get myself a ramp. And I'm so glad to see the back of these horrible wheels. And don't worry, before this car goes anywhere near the road, it will be getting a full set of brakes. I probably should have done it whilst doing the wheels, but I'm too impatient. So I put the first wheel on and you can see how excited I was until I lowered it down and realised that it wasn't low enough. So I took the coilover adjusters out and it sat perfect. And now it's time for the front wheels, and because this clip's sped up, it makes me look like some sort of F1 mechanic. Trust me, I'm not. Honestly, I don't think you're all ready for this. I honestly cannot believe how sick this car looks. And it's almost impossible to believe that these are the same car. But as you guys know, if you've been following the channel, this isn't my first rodeo. And it definitely isn't going to be my last. And I bought this car to see if I could make a cool convertible, and I think it's safe to say it's a mission success. So now this car's almost finished, it's now time to drive it. But before I drive it, it needs quite a few things sorting out, which I'll be doing in the next video. And then I'm gonna be taking this car somewhere pretty special. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that like button and let me know in the comments what you think of the new color. And I wanna make a massive shout out to Paige and Mitch for wrapping it. And if you want your car wrapped, I'm gonna put both of their Instagrams in the description below. Be sure to hit them up and tell them that I sent you. And to Carly for sponsoring this video. How mental is that? And the last shout out goes out to all of you guys for watching this video. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all more than you could ever imagine. You're all legends. Peace. With